Hey guys, Firas here. So, I've been doing lately this Lufery Tuesdays, Lufery Wednesdays kind of series, and today is a Wednesday. But it's also the 25th of March, and today it would have been my dad's 70th birthday. And yeah, he's no longer with us. I lost my dad 9 years ago. At that point he was already very sick. He was also obese. Unfortunately, he loves eating and drinking, you know. And the heart attack kind of sealed the deal. And I said, you know what, enough Lufery, enough music. Let's talk about my dad, because he was instrumental for the course of my life, and he's the catalyst that got me into music actually. So yeah, about my dad, he was born in 56, 25th of March, into one of these normal families, let's say. My grandma, his mother, she was kindergarten teacher, educator, and my grandpa, he was a police officer. Also, my grandpa has a crazy story. I'll do another one about my grandpa and my grandma. Also very, very, very important for me. But today is about my dad. So yeah, he was born in this family. He had an older sister, Stella. She was much older than he was. I think 8 years older or something like that. Yeah, 7-8 years older. So yeah, he was, that kind of kid. He was always frowning. You could see in pictures, or looking a bit scared. Life after the war also in Romania was pretty tough, and he was the rebellious type. And during the communist era, being rebellious was a big problem. To his luck, I would say, my grandpa was a police officer, and he was a higher ranking officer. He was colonel, I think. And he got my dad out of a lot of trouble, like a lot of trouble. But yeah, my dad was this cool kid, pretty popular in school, and at some point he befriended this older dude. I think when my dad was still in I don't know, maybe in the 7th or the 8th grade, when teenagers start to bloom. He met this guy who was already in high school, and he introduced my dad to Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple and Cream and The Who, and the greats. And also to Jimmy, right? I have this book here. My dad bought it actually, and I just checked earlier, 1995. Wow, I was 13 then. Yeah. Yeah, and it was 70,000 lei, which nowadays in today's money would be something like €1.50. Funny, right? So yeah, he got introduced to psychedelic rock and prog rock and all the cool heavy and hard rock, and the cool stuff of the 70s and 60s, 70s. And then he started trading things, like he for a while he trained hockey, so he sold his hockey skates for I don't know, a couple of vinyls, and somehow through my grandma he got hold on a turntable, a pretty, you know, basic one, but basic is better than none. And he started collecting vinyls and, you know, throwing parties, which I presume were pretty wild from what my grandma told me. But yeah, you know, um, he was already a teenager, like a late teenager, when he was doing all that. And then he met my mom. Actually, he met my mom when he was in the army. Um, yeah, he so he did half of his training year, whatever how it was called, in somewhere at the border. Well, that doesn't matter. Like, not in Bucharest, and the other half at the airport, at the Otopen, the international airport. And at some point, so my mom was working at the airport, and she was working as a secretary. She was, you know, typewriting, old school, like in the old movies. And he kept on bringing documents, you know. He told me the entire story. Like, he fancied her a lot, and he started bringing more and more documents to be whatever copied or to be, I don't know. He just found ways of interacting with my future mom, and then he would bring like chocolate or some flowers or whatever. And yeah, that's how they met, like in '75. And then yeah, it just life went on, and like the Beatles said, and then I appeared, and then my sister. But so here's the deal about my dad, man. He was one of the coolest dudes I've ever met, actually, and I've met lots of cool dudes since then. And but unfortunately, he was a bit extreme in his tastes for life and for entourage and everything. And yeah, he had a drinking problem, unfortunately, which this kind of got him in the end. And but this is not the topic of this video. I mean, that's the sad part of it and the sad ending of the story. But man, I do remember. So I was a little kid. I think my sister has all those black and white pictures. By the way, he was also a photographer, very talented photographer, and also an artist. He did this, like the Beatles. Sorry for the reflections, and I have a couple more up top here. And I don't know if I can put it back. Oh, I did. Cool. So yeah, he was a pretty talented guy. He worked a couple of years as a decorator after the army, and you know, he had like this circle of super cool friends, most of them photographers and artists of all sorts. And you know, he was one of the coolest guys to be around. That's how I remember my dad. And I was a little kid, so my dad would wait. So yeah, this is a cool story. So he would dress up like this, I don't know, mysterious kind of guy. He had a long black trench coat and a big black fedora, you know, and long hair, long black hair, and you know, he would always find something cool or funny to say, you know, to people, and people would gravitate to him. He was kind of the life of the party, let's say. And yeah, so I remember I was a little kid. I was wearing my dad's huge hat, and his he had well, they weren't Ray-Bans, but they look like those pilot sunglasses, so I was wearing that, and he was smoking pipe at the time because why not, you know, like a proper gentleman. And I remember, so my first musical love and my most beloved album when I was maybe 3 was The Works by Queen. Man, I love that album, and I think my sister has a huge box of black and white pictures. I have so imagine me, big fedora on my head, pipe, his sunglasses, and the vinyl. You know, the Works. Still, I still remember that vinyl, and I have to buy it actually. I don't have it as a CD or a vinyl yet, but I will buy it at some point. So yeah, I remember like the loud parties that they were throwing all the time, you know, like I think every weekend or so. And man, you know, it was loud music, loud people talking stuff, talking about movies, you know, like Western movies, which was very frowned upon, at least to say by the communist government, and they were smoking a lot, like Western cigarettes. I still remember like the Kent and Marlboro and Camel and whatever, and they were drinking a lot, and they had, you know, yeah, they had a blast usually. I mean, and I know I got older, so we're talking about 95, and I also started developing my music tastes. And at 14 I started studying guitar after I pestered my dad for a while, and he asked his very good friend Marius. I mentioned him in actually the first clip on this channel, and I got tested to see if I could start studying guitar. So by the time my dad bought this book here, I've been I've been already studying guitar for 1 year. Yeah, I don't think I had my electric guitar then. I had a double six, which is kind of fitting because I'm just redoing, I'm just repairing. I'm on the last leg of repairing this double six. I'm pretty sorry I sold that one. That was the first guitar I got from my parents, and I don't know, I just sold it at some point. It wasn't a great guitar, but you know, sentimental value and stuff. Now I regret it. Anyway, so yeah, he bought this book and I read it and stuff. And a couple of years later, like we're talking 98, yeah, 98. So for my Romanian friends, you will remember that we had this like a Czech book, right, for school kids, and we had like a state allowance or a state sponsored allowance of whatever it was per month. And I think it was in 97, in the, must have been, I don't know, like in the fall of 97. So I saw the first poster of this, and yeah, I was like, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man, I have to go there. So I kept all those checks, you know, for months, and I bought 2 tickets for me and dad. And yeah, I'm getting emotional a bit. I made him cry, you know. Yeah, 98, 1st of March. Yeah, this was my not my first concert, but I think it was my 3rd ever concert, you know, like Jimmy Page and Robert Plant, and doing the Zeppelin thing, and Unfortunately, there was no John Paul Jones in the band at the time. They did the reunion much later, and man, yeah, I still remember. So yeah, I made my dad cry, and now I'm almost crying myself just remembering. And it was a great concert. I mean, I remember it got I don't know. It started very late. There was this other band opening, which was one of the least okay bands to open for Led Zeppelin. I won't name it them. They're pretty important, you know, in Romania, but there were so many other bands that would have been way better to open for, you know, half of Led Zeppelin, which yeah, the voice and guitar of Led Zeppelin, as it says here, right? So man, that was an amazing concert. They opened with rock and roll, and wow, what memories. And you know, he complained, of course, my dad was complaining all the time, right? And he complained that it was a bit loud, of course, right? And there were some kids that started doing like a quasi mosh pit. I don't know why at Led Zeppelin you would do a mosh pit thing, but whatever. And he started elbowing them. Um, yeah, my dad was there like that. And yeah, man, I really miss him. Yeah, this year he would have been 70. What a pity, you know? It's, yeah, I don't know what else I can say, you know? But yeah, this concert was just, I have many other tickets. I will just show you at in a different video, but you know, man, miss you, dad. Yeah, so that was it. Yeah, this just got a bit emotional, but I miss my dad, and you know, he's the main reason I got into music, and now I have a lot of guitars and amps, and you know, I still have his drawings and sketches, and yeah, his one of his cameras. Actually, I gifted him a camera many years back. Unfortunately, it wasn't the one he always wanted, because that one is still incredibly expensive nowadays. But yeah, I got him a pretty good contender to that one, and he did some more photos, but you know, the spark was kind of gone, and after a while he kind of got jaded. And you know, when after Romania went from communism to democracy, it was really tough. So I still remember the 90s. As a kid, man, we were poor. We were truly poor, and we never felt it so, because everyone else was poor around, you know. So it was not a huge divide, let's say. And I grew up in a pretty, I would say, pretty bad neighborhood, actually. And most people there were just as poor or poorer. And yeah, I think, you know, he expected things to get better way faster than it did. And yeah, he just got, you know, life got him down, and at some point he just stopped dreaming and stopped. He never stopped listening to music. That's a thing. Never. So music was always with him. And I still remember, you know, I was also like buying some CDs, or before CDs, cassettes. I also got the cassettes thing. And you know, we would listen to whatever album, and whenever I was coming home with anything like this, like Joe Zawinul, right, he was like, nah, what kind of, this is jazz, I don't like jazz, you know. Funny, right? So he was always saying, nah, I don't like jazz. What kind of music is that? It's a little, you know, they're playing all over the place. But then he would be a huge, I mean, huge with capital H, fan of King Crimson. And that always stumped me. And also like Jethro Tull, which they also incorporate a lot of jazz in their playing. And yeah, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and lots of the huge acts of the 70s and 60s. And yeah, my dad was always like that. He had like very strong opinions. Now I don't like jazz. I mean, he, yeah, would listen to a bit of you know, the very commercial side of jazz, maybe some swing a bit, like or before swing, like Louis Armstrong, and you know, the Sinatra thing. My mom was a huge Sinatra fan, but yeah, he was always like, nah, that's shite, I don't like that. And he would make fun of me for like listening to Al Di Meola, and I don't know, like a lot of fusion stuff like John McLaughlin, and yeah, Return to Forever, like Chick Corea. And yeah, man, I miss like talking about everything and anything with my dad. And unfortunately, in his later years, as I said, he kind of estranged himself from us, me and my sister. And yeah, he was drinking a lot, and yeah, this didn't help. And I mean, he was basically always escaping in his booze infused universe, let's say. And yeah, it became extreme in the, you know, when he turned 60 already. He was pretty sick, as I said. He almost got this bug from the hospital, because he's been in the hospital a couple of times. And then yeah, on the 12th of January 2017 he died. And I was the last person in my family who saw him alive. And he said, I'm good, go home. He couldn't even open his eyes. And yeah, I knew it was bad, and I went to get my mom and my sister, and by the time we were back at the hospital, he was already gone. But yeah, man, he was such a big-hearted guy. Whew. Yeah, sorry, but this video is way harder than I thought. Anyway, I think this was it. I really miss the guy. You know, happy birthday, Dad. And yeah, see you in the next one. All right, ciao.